We are now joined by Aditi Pasari. She's the Joint Managing Director at Gulshan Polyols. Thank you for giving us your time, Aditi, and a very good afternoon to you. The management overall is expecting a roughly 20% revenue growth in FY26, and if I'm not wrong, the capacity utilization is 80 to 90%. Looking at the current industry and even the sugar industry outlook for the next season, which is already out in the markets, will you change your guidance or will you stick by this guidance which is there here?
Hi, good morning, Sharad, and thank you, NDTV, for having us on the show and discussing our company on this very special show, Know Your Company. So yes, we have given the guidance of 2,300 crores to 2,400 crores for FY26 as top line. And yes, we can also already see the half year has already gone by, and we are very much in line with what we have been talking. So yeah, we are very much in target, and we should be able to achieve the targeted revenue.
And Aditi, the margins also, the ethanol segment, the street wants to know, will it be 8 to 9% only on a consolidated basis for the whole year, or is there any kind of a pressure in this segment, in the margins front?
No, in fact, we are seeing some kind of the pressure has eased off on the ethanol segment for us, and this is especially owing to the release of FCR rice by the government in the ESY 25-26, where the government has made it mandatory for ethanol producers to lift 40% FCR rice to produce ethanol, which as a result has eased off the pressure on the other raw materials, which is broken rice and maize, and created a kind of grain liquidity in the country. Thus improve the availability of raw material and also soften the prices. So hence, it will have a direct impact on the operational margins of the company in the ethanol segment.
Aditi, if you can give me a number, will it touch the double-digit mark?
The ethanol segment alone, yes, we are quite confident. The second half of the year, we should be looking at a 9 to 10% operational margin on the ethanol segment alone. Well, yeah. I would also like to add to that, apart from the operational margin, we are also expecting state incentives, which are going to get factored in the second half of this financial year, in terms of PLI for our MP plant and also some state and central incentives for our SAM plant. So they should all add up to the bottom line.
And Aditi, another industry-specific question, and this is asked a lot of times, but I'll still ask. There is the country's E20 blending roadmap that's already on. How you're seeing this industry pan out in the next 3 to 4 years? Any hiccups is there, or the road is going to be very smooth?
So country has already achieved 20% blending that we already know, but it doesn't stop here. This was basically the first milestone to check the industry readiness, the availability of raw material, and the investor capability.
All right.
You see,
please go ahead.
You see, in 24-25, the government saved 40,000 crores on forex by substituting imported crude oil by ethanol blending, and 50,000 crores was infused into the rural economy. So if these figures are in place, and if we see the whole vision of the ethanol policy, it was actually in line with Brazil, where they are blending about 55% of ethanol into petroleum. So going forward, we don't see the blending to stop here. In the very near future, 24 to 25% is very much possible with the current engines, and we are expecting the government will be doing that. And parallelly, it's also going to be working on reducing flexi fuel vehicles. So the ultimate goal of the government is going to be to save about 2 lakh crores on foreign exchange by increasing blending of their total budget of 22 crore per year.
Aditi, there is a burning question. Of course, the rupee also at its record low levels, and government, as you pointed out, reduction of forex outgoes. That is something which the government is targeting. So can we expect, some more schemes or in your industry which is there, which will actually reduce that? Are there anything in the offing or any expectations you are getting from the budget, from your industry?
No, as I said, we are quite hopeful that the blending will increase in the near future, because you see this program is for the country. It's for the farmers, benefiting the farmers, benefiting the foreign exchange, creating employment, and also decreasing the CO2 emission. So in every way, it is a policy for the country.
And Aditi, are you planning to expand your overall capacity expansion? Because we discussed earlier your existing capacities, but when a company hits that 80 to 90% capacity utilization, so there is some more announcements in the capex front. If yes, what would be the amount? And if no, what's those timelines for it?
So you see, we have a total capacity of producing 26 crore litre of ethanol in a year. And our current order book is about 17.5 crore litre, which we're expecting to go up to 20 crore litre with additional cycles, OMC tenders, which will be coming in very soon, very shortly. Still, we have capacity of about 20 to 25%, which can go up with our current infrastructure. But yes, in line with the ethanol blending program of the government, we will be looking at increasing the capacity as it plans to increase the blending.
This is a very theoretical question, but this is asked by a lot of our audience who track and watch KYC. They have asked us that overall, how do you secure your feedstock sourcing? This can be sugarcane, grain, maize, and how do you manage this price volatility? To put that in strategy, in perspective, how does this company do? How does Gulshan Polyols do this?
So you see this year in ESY 25-26, the government made it mandatory for ethanol producers to lift 40% raw material in the form of FCI rice at a fixed price and sell to the government at a fixed price. So that has created a lot of grain liquidity and also softened the prices. So for the remaining balanced raw material, which we are lifting from the market, of course, we do stock up during harvest cycles for both our plants, which is in MP and Assam. The harvest cycle for Madhya Pradesh is about November, and the harvest cycle for Assam is about April. So depending on the harvest cycles for both our plants, we do stock up to mitigate as much as risk as possible and mitigate the volatility in the raw material prices.
All right, Aditi, but the debt picture, what's the current debt level for the company? Any debt reduction programs ahead, or if you are expanding, will this debt go much more on the higher side? The entire analyst community, investor community wants to know that.
So see, we are sitting on a total debt of about 450 crores, which is a mix of long-term debt as well as working capital. And the increase which you see in last 1 year is mainly on accounts of our raw material procurement, which has shifted from open market purchase to FCI rice. And FCI rice is purchased on basis of advanced to the government. Vis-a-vis open market purchase was based on credit. So that has definitely brought about a shift and in the working capital requirement, and as a result of which you can see the debt levels going up. Going forward for any kind of capacity expansion and also adding new products, which is also in the pipeline, we are looking at expanding in the specialty chemical sector and adding new products, which will mostly be in lines of import substitutes. We could be looking at a combination of internal accruals, debt, or maybe equity.
Aditi, just to play the devil's advocate here, are there any policy risks involved or the incentives that could actually materially impact the ethanol realizations of volumes going forward? And if yes, how does the company make a strategy to overcome that?
If it is going to be, it's only going to be in a very positive way. The country has already hit the 20% blending mark. And from here, it is only going to go up because that is the roadmap. That is the vision of the government of India. The kind of savings that this program has brought to the country in terms of foreign exchange and the wealth that has been created for the rural community, the blending has to only go up, maybe 24, 25, 27%. And in a few years, we will be looking at flexi fuel vehicles, which will give us more flexibility in terms of blending. And as the volumes increase for the government, the volumes increase for the industry, and the volumes increase for the company. So it is only going to be positive.
Positive, positive, positive. That's what Aditi is saying. Thank you very much, Aditi, for your time. And speaking about Gulshan Polyols and the industry perspective going ahead,